average session duration for a website visitor is between 2 and 3 minutes. So during that 120-second, give or take, interlude, how positive are you that your last website visitor opted in for your emails? You don't need me to wax poetic about why you need an email list. I talk about it all the time. And hey, I hope that last social media outage was enough to remind you that, hello, while these tools are good and useful and helpful, you are not the cruise ship director over there like you are for your email list. You don't own your followers. In last week's video, I gave you some tips for a launch of a brand new or a refreshed website. And in tip number 1, spoiler, I told you to focus on the KPI of growing your email list, generating those leads, pulling them on your list and into your orbit. So in today's video, I'm going to give you some of my best tips for growing your email list from your website going into 2022. And I'm going far beyond the whole use an irresistible lead magnet on your website and talk about it everywhere. Yes, you want to do that, but I'm assuming you've heard that, so let's go a little bit deeper. The way I want you to think about it instead is how many different types of bait can you put out there in the water on your website to attract your clients and your customers. If you're excited, you're gonna work on taking that traffic and putting them on your email list. Click the like button, click the subscribe button and the bell next to it as well if you've not yet. My name is Ashlyn Carter. I'm a conversion copywriter and brand and launch strategist for creatives like you, and I get to announce it. Next week, we're opening up the doors for the 10th time to Copywriting for Creatives. It's my signature program, my baby. I love it. It'll teach you how to master your message, write your site, and launch it to sell. Don't miss out on the wait list. There will be some goodies. Okay, and let's hop to the tip. Here is number 1. Please make it so easy for me to get on your list without hopping on through some sort of opt-in funnel. Okay, in research for this video, I went to 20 different websites. I didn't tell people or anything. I just went to 20 different websites from people that are in my industry, from peers, from colleagues. And I put this as tip number 1 because for a lot of these people, it was so hard for me to figure out just how to get on their email list. I don't want one of these opt-ins. I just want to hear from you. I want to know your news. I want to know your updates. I'm nosy. I want your emails. This hits home too because as I'm recording this, Black Friday is coming up and I for sure have some brands that I've got my eye on because I want to see if they're offering some discounts or promos. They probably will, and I want to know about them. But again, for some websites I've hopped on, it is so hard for me to figure out how to be in line to know about them. So let me ask you, here's a gut check. If I were to hop on your website right now, how easy is it for me to just get on your email list? I need to see that very early on your website. Can I hop on without a freebie just to hear alerts, updates, promos, etc.? Let me flip the camera around and show you some teardowns here so you know what I mean. These are some things we updated and changed on my new website. We actually added above the fold a subscribe button that has performed really well. In the past, I've only ever had a general opt-in in the footer. We kept that and actually updated that. I have found, at least again with my audience and the traffic on my website, instead of just a button that you click and then a pop-up comes up, we see better conversion when there's already the field there, the form field that you need to update, so I would try that. Okay, your tip here number 1 is to add some sort of a general newsletter, email list, subscribe, opt-in on your website in your footer at minimum. By the way, if you want to knock out some other copywriting to-dos, website tasks, then be sure you sign up and come to the co-working session that I'm having next week. It's gonna be so fun. Or go to awcopyclass.com to get in on that. Let's go ahead and go to tip number 2 here. So after you have that general sign up somewhere on your website, preferably at least in the footer, I want you to leverage pop-ups. And I know what you're already thinking, but they work. Plain and simple. For a minute, let's put in a little box on the shelf your feelings that you may have about pop-ups, and let's look at the cold, hard, steely data, and that would tell us that these perform consistently very well. So in the early days, pop-ups were primarily used by third-party advertisers, and that's kind of when they had that cringe-worthy phase, if you remember, like early internet days. But according to research conducted by Sumo, more on Sumo in a minute, I love it and I recommend it, the top 10% of pop-ups perform at a whopping 9.3%. Now in last week's video, I talked a little more about conversion rates for different pieces of your website funnel and how important that is, and you know that a conversion rate at that is so high. Wow. Let's do that, please. There's different types of pop-ups that you could consider for your website. You could do welcome mat style, you could do an overlay, you could do something that slides up. There's so many different options and tons of tools out there. From there, you'll also be able to schedule when the pop-up shows. Personally, I think the most annoying, unless you're gonna give me an incredible opt-in or coupon code, is that one that comes up right away. Also, comment below, is anybody else like me? If I am on a website and there's something I wanna buy, I'll open it in an incognito window and I move my mouse around. I'm like, I know I can get 15% off my first order. Just Give it to me. Where's that code? Okay, so that's one that comes up right away. You can also set them to populate through scroll time or through time spent on the page. One of my favorites is an exit intent pop-up. Highly recommend that you consider that. Or you can have a pop-up show with inactivity. Now, it is a little bit of a delicate dance with our friend the Google machine, because you don't want your website to be annoying to your users or have such a bad user experience that it's going to get flagged for that. You can avoid it by sounding like a human in your pop-ups, so use delightful copy. Honestly, this can be one of the best chances to use some of that surprise and delight copy. Be a little witty, be a little funny, maybe point out the fact that we hate pop-ups, so you're really trying to make it juicy for them, and get them something that they really want if you're going to use a pop-up, which I recommend you consider it, because again, that's sky-high conversion rate. I've mentioned Sumo. I've used Sumo on my website for, gosh, I think 4 years or so now, but there's Poptin, I think I'm saying that right, Opt-in Monster, Sleek Note, and then if you have Shopify or if your website is built on Shopify, there's so many different apps and tools there. Here is why, and designers, please don't throw things at me, I don't love forms that are built innately in a tool like Showit, for example, unless, and this is why I don't like it on Showit, I can't see the conversion rate. I don't know if that pop-up is performing at X% or Y%. I don't know if it's working. And what's more is I usually will want to split test things. I want to try a coupon code versus an opt-in for my quiz and see which one performs better. Once I know the winner of that, I want to see what copy performs better. As with all split testing, you want to tweak one element at a time. I know, but just be patient, because that's how you actually see what it was that made the difference. If you're switching everything all at once, you won't know. But again, this is where those other tools can be so helpful, because you'll be able to quickly see different metrics and conversion rates and know if that pop-up's working. One last feeling that I have about pop-ups, something that I want to try is incorporating GIFs instead of static images inside my pop-ups. Shout out Jess Santisi. I'm not an affiliate or anything. I just met her. She actually took Copywriting for Creatives. She has a course about how to make GIFs, so that can be super fun if you're not quite sure how to do it. But Sleek Note did this recently, changed some of their static images to GIFs, and they saw their conversion rate go up. Here's what that looked like. I think that sounds like so much fun. Let me know down below if you do too. Just wanted to throw that out there for something that we can all try. Okay, tip number 3, optimize your blog for signups. Yes, you need a blog in 2022. And if you're using SEO or Pinterest juice to drive traffic to your blog, then gosh darn it, make sure that you are capturing those leads on your email list on your blog. I'm gonna recommend you do 3 things on each blog page. For each pillar blog post, the first thing I want you to do is make sure that you have a call out section where you're telling them to opt in for a freebie that's associated with that blog post. Maybe it's a generic one that kind of applies to all of your blog posts. Maybe you're drilling it down a little bit more so it's more offer specific, but mention that early on in the copy, and then I usually like to mention it again at the bottom. If you really want to get crazy, I have a client who fandangled her blog, so each page that she had, like on a blog, a certain topic, a pop-up would show up with that topic's freebie. So if the blog was about how to have a photography business, then her freebie related to that popped up on that type of blog page. Okay, that's some big girl boss energy to pull off a project like that, but I think that is brilliant, and if you've got the time and the resources, that could be so helpful, is to tweak and have specific pop-ups for different pages or categories on your blog. This goes without saying a little bit, but if you are really focusing on growing your email list from your website, make sure that you're creating lead magnets that are sticky, that they need to use over and over again because it was such a valuable tool or resource. I have found, and yes, take it from the girl who one time thought it was a great idea to make 52 freebies in 1 year. I did that a few years ago, never again, but I learned a lot through it. It was a great experiment. The ones that people come up to me and mention that were so helpful, or they've taped it beside their desk, they use it all the time, those are the kind of freebies that really have a sustainable longevity. So I would recommend going more towards that direction when you're building them out. Okay, the last place on your blog, I want you to have somewhere in the sidebar, again, your general newsletter opt-in. So we've had that on your homepage, at least in the footer, if not somewhere else maybe. And then I also want you to have that on the sidebar in your blog too. Remember, we're trying to give them as much bait in the water. Some people want the freebies, some people just want to be on your list, and we need to make it so easy for them to find. Let's look at all the different bait in the water put out there on this blog post to hopefully hook people. So this goes to the lead magnet, of course. If we scroll down more though, you'll see that there's an opt-in lead magnet right here mentioned. I would recommend at the bottom of the post, we need to do that on this post. I would recommend also adding in that same type image. So they have it again down there. And then let's see if there's anything else over on the side. We can always put just like this. So we give them a way that they can hop on the email list and get the news. Okay, number 4, last tip, use what is called, at least I've always heard it called, a hello bar, an announcement bar. This is that bar up at the top. You can make it sticky on the scroll. And if right now you're thinking, oh my gosh, Ashlyn, this is going to be the most annoying website of all time because I'm going to have all these different things flying in. This is, again, why I would recommend a software like Asana or whatever, because you can have them populate based on algorithms. And so based on traffic and IP addresses, that one person, that one user isn't going to get shown all the different things at one time when they land on your website, but it'll space them out a little bit. So instead of having to worry about different rules, only show to this person if they haven't visited in 3 years or whatever, you can have the robots do it for you. Let me show you how to do that in Sumo. This is what the inside of Sumo looks like. I love it. I've used it for a long time. Just set it up on a new domain I have now. But if we pop over here, we can look at, basically you just put an install code up on your website in the proper place. Once I'm in the dashboard, I can click over to forms and see all of the different ones that I have right now. This is so helpful to be able to run different campaigns and measure them. So again, that hello bar, it's going to be a campaign that sits at the top of the browser page. Sometimes you'll see them at the bottom. I think they work a little bit better up at the top. It could be above or below the main navigation bar. And it's a great way to make announcements, tell people about a giveaway or a wait list or anything you've got going on, and pull them onto your email list. Okay, I sure hope that you found some tips in this video that you can use to grow your own email list. Click that like button if you did, and remember, go with that benchmark of at minimum 2%. So I want you to at least try to convert 2% of all the traffic that's landing on your website into your email list. Let me know below how you're using your website to skyrocket your email list growth. If you've got any questions about my setup, let me know below. I love to answer those. And be sure to hop into that co-working sesh at awcopyclass.com. Don't forget to subscribe. And now that you know some hacks to growing your email list from your website, be sure to watch the next video I've got teed up for you. I'm talking all about how to prep for a launch or a relaunch of your website. I'll see you there.